Need some suspension work and shocks and brakes, brake pads, lining, steering box, transmission, rear end.
Ka-chow.
Just don't see no cars! It works! I love this button!
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
All right, welcome back to the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast, recording at you live from Chicago.
Oh, yeah, that's
the
right.
most
It is.
accurate.
It
well,
is.
okay,
That's right.
Blues Brothers was Chicago as well.
Right, and actually we'll talk about that movie along with this movie.
Yes, but today we are talking about Ferris Bueller's Day Off,
Yes.
the 1986 film directed by John Hughes.
Yep.
If you are new to the podcast, thank you for stopping by. We have a rule here where we don't really talk about the movie for the first 10 minutes in case you change your mind and want to go watch it, because then we have spoilers after the first 10 minutes. If you have not seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off in the last 30 years...
Almost 40,
been a while. Almost 40 years.
It's been a while, yeah.
You know, we still won't spoil anything, but, you know.
It's true. But you will hear this. That's our Ecto 1.
That means that spoilers have commenced.
That means,
So,
Yep.
Yeah, we are back recording Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I found this movie at the $5 bin at my local Walmart.
Did you? It was a $5 bin?
Yeah.
Wow.
$5 bin at Walmart's pretty strong.
Yeah, I was
There's a couple good contenders in there, and every time I go grocery shopping, I always check it out.
It's yeah.
But we do have some current events to talk about.
We do.
I don't know if you know they're making Spaceballs 2. Have you heard about this?
No. Okay, because today your brother just said they're making Naked Gun 2, or they're making another version of Naked Gun.
Yes. That one's a little bit less cool because that's without Leslie
Nielsen.
Thank you.
So, but it's with Liam Neeson.
Oh, I have heard about this actually.
So that's going to be interesting. But go ahead with
Spaceballs 2.
Okay.
You know, I don't have much info on it. It's still, it's directed by the same guy. What's his name? Mel
Brooks?
Mel Brooks. It's
Is
directed
he still
by Mel
alive?
Brooks. He's 98 years old. When the movie comes out, it's slated for a 2027 release. He will be 100 years old by the time the movie comes out.
My gosh. He directed it or produced it or
he's
what?
directing it.
How?
Yes. The original main character, again, for Pullman.
Yeah, okay.
His son is also in it. They got the original cast members, and apparently Rick Moranis is making his return to acting for the film.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Rick Moranis?
So he's been absent since, I think the early 2000s, late 90s.
John Candy can't.
Sure.
So,
I forgot about that.
Rest in peace.
Rest in pease.
So, yeah.
I hope they get Will Sasso to fill that role. He would be great.
He would be great.
John Candy's Will Sasso's his favorite actor. I'm a big fan of Will Sasso, all of his podcasts and whatnot. Yeah. But I think Will Sasso has that sort of cadence.
Yeah, I think so. He could do it. He could do it.
Spaceballs 2 is coming in 2027.
Electric Boogaloo. Or,
yes.
What was the
well, it was funny.
Tokyo Drift.
That was the third one. So no.
Okay. All right. So
2 space, 2 balls. That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right at all.
They released a teaser for it, and it was the Star Wars credit or title sequence, where the words are scrolling on the screen. And it was since our last installment, there have been 8 Harry Potter films, 3 because I forgot this was before the prequels of Star Wars. And it was it was 3 prequels, 3 sequels, 3 prequels to the sequels.
Right.
And it was just a really funny list of there have been 8 Jurassic Parks since the last movie that we did. There have been, this many many spin-off TV series.
Think about just the Star Wars alone, the cinematic universe of Star Wars, so many.
Yeah, because
Mandalorian,
Spaceballs was
blah, 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 blah,
mid 80s, late 80s.
Yeah, I think it was late 80s. Late 80s. I mean, it was.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
It's very interesting.
Other piece of news,
which, by the way,
yes,
part of that is actually in the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's Star Wars. They actually play the Star Wars theme. As
yes,
so I'm not gonna say it yet. But
I forgot about that.
That is in there.
Oh yeah.
So, go ahead. Yeah. Anyway,
the other piece of news you have a slight relation to.
Yeah.
You recently drove my Rolls Royce.
Yes, I did.
So how was that? How was driving a Rolls Royce?
So
this was a 2025 Rolls Royce Cullinan Series 2, 6.75 liter twin turbo V12, $511,000. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all right. No, it was unbelievably silky smooth. Like I have never in my life driven a car that was that buttery smooth. Like you literally could not feel a bump in a road. And we, in our neighborhood, it's there's a lot of bumps and stuff like that. You did not feel anything as far as I was so comfortable, and the driving was so easy. And of course, you're like, well, I hope, I kind of expect that from a luxury car.
Yeah.
Well, and there's cars that are more expensive, but they are sports cars, so they're rougher. This was like the most plush of the plush. I mean, this was like so cool. So that was such a great, wonderful experience. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was able to take it on a road trip, which was just I did 500 miles in a 511,000, which is funny to me because I was like, if I bought this car, that's $1,000 a mile.
Yeah.
That I would have technically paid for this road trip.
Well, I love the fact, too, that you stopped at places that you normally wouldn't stop at.
Probably. The Mars Cheese Castle.
Mars Cheese Castle.
I specifically went to McDonald's and ordered off the dollar menu in a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. Yeah. The reason I bring this up is that Rolls-Royce recently announced this week a special edition of the Phantom.
Oh, really?
So the Phantom is the sedan. Yeah. So that's like the more traditional Rolls-Royce that you would assume. It is the Rolls-Royce Phantom Goldfinger.
No.
So they have, and I'm showing you a picture here. It matches the color scheme of Goldfinger's car in the original
he had
Bond
a Phantom
film.
though, didn't he?
Yes. It was a 1937 Phantom, I believe.
Yes, beautiful car.
I'll read some copy here.
Okay.
A highly bespoke one-of-one Phantom Extended, so it's just a longer wheelbase, has been created to honor the legacy of the 1964 James Bond film Goldfinger. Crafted in celebration of the motion picture's 60th anniversary, this masterpiece draws inspiration from the iconic 1937 Phantom 3 Sedanica DeVille. I guess that was Goldfinger's car. Here, the story. So there's a video that goes along with it. It says, "Let the games begin. The rivalry between James Bond and Auric Goldfinger, Auric Goldfinger,
AURIC,
began on the manicured fairways of Stoke Park." What's up?
Go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
You know why his name is Auric?
No,
because the
AU.
AU,
gold.
Which is gold.
Gotcha.
AU is the symbol for gold.
So it's finished in the same two-tone color that Rolls-Royce was.
Right. Very
precision
cool. Black and yellow.
color match to Goldfinger's Rolls-Royce.
Yeah.
Sleek black roof, 21-inch black disc wheels with silver floating hubcaps to enhance the sophisticated presence.
Of course.
Final touch of cinematic luxury, a gold-plated putter is in the trunk.
Oh, you're
So it comes with a
kidding.
gold-plated putter in the trunk of the vehicle, and here's some more shots of it.
Very cool. Very cool.
You could see the putter. That's actually inside the back of the trunk.
Very cool.
Absolutely amazing. There's so many cool features. So it has 007 on the floor mats.
No.
What else? I'm just trying to scroll through here. There's you remember the Starry Night headliner?
Oh, yeah, I do.
So the stars are now gold instead of white.
Yeah, so the Starry Night, for those who don't know, there is the headliner, actually the top of the car, as you're sitting in the Rolls Royce, you look up and it looks like a starry sky. There's like pinpoints of light.
Yeah.
And you actually occasionally see a shooting star go by and stuff. Really, really fun and cool. So these are gold.
Yes.
They're not
so
silver.
the stars are gold. And then it says, inside a hidden vault in the center console conceals an illuminated solid 18-karat gold bar shaped as the Phantom's speed form. So basically like a more like smooth version of the car. So you actually get a gold bar in your Rolls Royce.
Wow.
And the seats. The base of both front and rear center consoles features an exquisite gold finish, which also extends to the interior of the glove box. The inner lid of the glove box elegantly debossed with Goldfinger's infamous quote, which says, "This is gold, Mr. Bond. All my life I've been in love with this color, its brilliance, its divine heaviness." That is on the inside of the glove box.
Wow.
But the coolest thing to me is that on the seats, they put a real golden bullet on the seats.
Oh, really?
Yes. Not with the casing, the actual golden bullet, not the shell, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then you remember the tray tables in the back seat?
Oh, yeah.
So this has the depicting a fictional map of the depository. The Royal Walnut picnic tables are adorned with delicate 22-karat gold inlay. So it is the map of like the I guess the map that they use in the movie of Goldfinger's compound is on the tray tables.
Okay, that's very cool because in the James Bond movie, he brings down the tray table to make out a check to James Bond who won the golf match.
Oh,
so he uses the tray table in the Rolls Royce.
That's pretty cool.
So that's pretty cool that they did that. I think that's pretty slick on that.
So the Phantom Goldfinger showcases some of the most extensive bespoke features ever seen on a one-of-one motor car. As such, it is forever etched into the Marquis' history and effortlessly brings the connection between Rolls-Royce's timeless appeal and the renowned James Bond franchise. So the door sills, when you get into the car, they say Goldfinger.
Yep.
An exclusive one-of-one commission. Entrust your personal vision with our artisans. So basically, they're not that Rolls-Royce usually has dealerships,
right?
You're not going to see this on a dealer lot. You have to call them and say, "I want the Goldfinger," and I'm sure they're going to say, "Okay, a Swift 700,000, not 700,000."
Well,
maybe
I don't know. Maybe
million.
could be.
But yeah, and it's so funny here because then they have a button that says "Make an inquiry." Oh yeah, I'm just gonna
sure. Just gonna do. Well, and so here's the thing as well is that obviously, at some point in my life, when that car is in a
buy here, pay here lot.
Exactly.
Or what is it?
When it is like.
By the way, we are past 10 minutes.
Are we? No, we're not past 10 minutes.
Yeah, we are.
Are we?
Yeah, the timer says we're at 11:39.
Okay, now we can do
we talked about
alerts.
spoilers.
Okay, yeah.
But when that car is in a buy here, pay here lot, you're going to buy one?
Yeah, well, remember we were talking about this a while back in the, it was the second Too Fast, Too Furious, or I think it was that one, where Paul Walker picks up a Skyline.
Oh yeah, in like a used car lot. That was what was
pretty
it?
cool, yeah.
The Too Fast, Too Furious turbocharged Prelude.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
So that was like the short film that connected the two, which I always thought was funny because a Prelude is a kind of Honda. And I had always seen turbocharged Prelude. I'm like, why would you turbo a Prelude? I mean, they're fine cars, but
no, I just thought
where he just buys an R34
because that will happen. Is that there's going to be a Rolls Royce, Phantom Edition, James Bond Phantom, and it's going to end up at some dusty, off road.
There actually is a Rolls Royce Cullinan for sale right now.
Is there?
It's a 2020 model. So the face looks a little different.
Okay, yeah.
It's for sale on Cars and Bids. It has 114,000 miles on it. Someone in 5 years did 114,000 miles in a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. I think it's going for like $100,000 right now, which is a steal.
It is. I actually would. If I had that car, I would, because that would be like my house.
Well, yeah,
exactly. I would live in that.
Like that's the thing is that like we totally 100%. Like if I own that car, everyone was like, "Oh, you took that thing on a road trip?" I'm like, "It's a car."
Yeah, it is.
It's a car.
Yeah,
like you're supposed to.
It is, but it's silky smooth. I'm telling you, I have never driven anything like that. I've never experienced anything like that in my life as far as driving. I've driven some of the most rough cars. The go-kart we used to have, that was like super. This car was like you were just floating everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just really nice. So
it was really
cool. It was very, very cool. So
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yep.
We are past the spoiler. No turning back here.
We are definitely.
How many times have you seen this movie?
I have seen this movie probably, I'm going to guess like 6 times at least.
Sure.
If not more. And then I've seen bits and pieces, as it was on TV or whatever. And I can't even remember the first time I saw it. But, I've seen it a bunch of times. How about you?
I've seen it a bunch. This was like one of those movies where like back in the day, like at school, they would even show us this movie. Or like it was a very...
Wait, they showed it at school?
I'm trying to think where... I definitely saw it. Maybe it was at church. Maybe it was like youth group we watched it or something.
Wow,
But it's a very like vanilla, like there's no like big sexual innuendos.
Right,
there's
exactly,
no like F you. There's no blood or guts.
Yeah.
Like, and John Hughes was kind of known for that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Not that it means it's boring at all. But I've seen it definitely a couple times. I recently thought of it because the Formula One driver Lewis Hamilton recently joined Ferrari. And he, I don't know how much money was spent on this. Yeah. But they CGI'd him into the scene where they take the Ferrari out for a joyride.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And it is so seamless.
Really?
The CGI that they did is so good. It genuinely looks like he was just in the movie.
Wow.
I'll show it to you after this.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. That's very cool.
And I would love to pick the brain of the people that put him into the movie because they put him into a nearly 40-year-old movie. They matched the film grain, like everything.
That's amazing.
It was crazy. So I saw that when he was joining Ferrari, which he's now not doing great over at Ferrari. He switched teams.
All right. Okay.
And then I saw it in the $5 bin, and I'm like, this is a classic.
Yeah,
it does have. And the other thing is that we have a Roku at my house.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
And my girlfriend leaves the like Roku menu up all the time, like while she's studying or something. It's like Roku City.
Yeah.
And they have like a million film references in there. The DB5 drives by. There's a gorilla on the Empire State Building. There's all these stuff. There is parked in front of one of the buildings is a Ferrari up on a stand.
Oh.
Where Cameron puts it up on a stand to try to get the miles off of it.
Oh, okay.
So that I was like, if that Ferrari's iconic enough to be like in this like top 100 quotable things.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
It's a fair enough car movie.
Does your Roku menu have precious metal on it?
Oh God, that film.
Anyway, so
awful film.
We are talking about
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. What were your thoughts on rewatching it?
I'm glad you asked me that because here's the funny thing. I used to always enjoy the movie, and when I first saw this again, when I started watching it again, I had a really weird thing happen to me. It was like I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's a jerk!" Like Ferris is a jerk.
Yeah,
and I really didn't enjoy it as much because I was like, now that I'm looking at it back, I'm going, he was really rough on his friend. Like he really pushed Cameron, his friend, around.
Yeah.
And really made him do stuff he was not happy with and just kind of came off as a jerk. Like, I want to have this day off. You need to come over here and drive me around and do all this stuff. And I started going, wow, what of like an entitled jerk? And I really felt very different watching it this time. However, having said that, I then watched the DVD extras, which is one of the great things about DVDs.
Yeah.
I really do appreciate having the collection of DVDs that we have because watching DVD extras is really fun to me. You learn a lot about behind the scenes. After watching the DVD extras, I felt differently again. I felt because I realized John Hughes was basically saying he was actually trying to help his friend Cameron break out of his shell, to do things that Cameron wouldn't normally do, to enjoy life more, because Cameron really had a tough life with his parents.
Yeah.
Which again, you don't see his dad in this movie or his mom. You don't see either of Cameron's parents. And so I thought then after that, I'm like, okay, so then rethinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, so when he was pushing him to do that stuff, it was like, you need to enjoy life.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that hit me was during this movie, one of the songs they keep singing over and over again is Dankeschön.
Yes. Yeah.
So they do, and even Rooney, the principal Rooney. Principal.
My friend Ryan used to do a spot on impression of that.
Oh, really?
It was the only like sentence he could say.
Yeah.
Rooney, and,
Right.
you know, whatever the
and in the
it's so
accent
fun.
that Cameron does it. So what's interesting is even Rooney starts to hum the Dankeschön song. So I looked that up too. It's German for thank you kindly or great being. It's a actually I think I have this here.
Oh God.
I actually have notes which I never have.
Yeah, you never have notes. You go in pretty streamlined.
Yeah, no. So basically what it is, Dankeschön is a German phrase meaning thank you very much or thank you kindly. It's a polite and common way to express gratitude in German. So the reason I bring that up is because I was thinking about this more and after watching the DVD extras, realized that it's actually really a movie about being grateful about life.
Mm-hmm.
So really, like he says in the end of the movie, you need to stop and look around and
you might miss it.
You might miss it. And I think it's really hit me this time of, yeah, you're right. Now, granted, and I think it's a great attitude to have. Be grateful, look around, enjoy the simple things in life, enjoy things. Yes, granted, I think that's a great thing. But one of the things that I'd wanted to say about this too is that, do you realize how many things they did during the day?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. Because I was thinking about it, just going to a baseball game and then going to a museum alone, those two things alone would wipe
that's a
out
whole day.
That's an entire day. You just no way you could do all that.
But the parade, the lunch,
exactly. The parade, the lunch, everything else that they were doing, absolutely. They were like sitting by Lake Michigan, all that stuff. I mean, it's great, and it shows off Chicago really. Oh, they go up to the Sears Tower.
Yeah.
All
they
that
looked
stuff.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, they looked. And
one of the cameramen got sick filming that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a weird experience. And,
I was staring at that building last night. We were on my girlfriend's friend's rooftop, which is like right next to the Sears Tower.
Wow.
Still call it Sears Tower. I know it's Willis or whatever.
Well, it'll always be the
and
Sears
I was looking.
Tower.
It's always so funny because they have those glass boxes now, which I don't think were in the film.
No, the glass boxes were not. But you and I think Nick and when we went downtown, we went up there and we sat
in the glass box.
Sat in the glass boxes, which is pretty scary. Actually,
yeah, it's
a
pretty
pretty
weird.
awful thing.
But they did do a lot in that day, though.
They did, and it was a ton. I mean, if you think about all the stuff that they did in one day, and again, yes, it's a fantasy movie. There's no two ways about it, but it is, I think, about being grateful about life and being, taking in, being present in life. And what's funny too is that I don't know about you, because I'm a terrible dad and I have no idea if you ever even went to school, but I never ditched, ever. I never, like even on senior ditch day, because my dad was a cop.
Yeah.
Like it was really tough for me to like get away with anything. So I was a rule follower and I never ditched. And so I don't know what that's like.
I halfway ditched once.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because I had...
you're grounded.
Thanks. I don't live here anymore.
Exactly. So
I had the last period that you could have of lunch with 6 period lunch.
Yeah.
Then I had 7th period of a study hall.
Yeah.
And then 8th period, you could take a class that was just early dismissal, so you could just not do anything.
Right. Yeah.
So one time, I went to study hall after lunch.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, hey, or no, what was it? Shoot, now I'm forgetting, because I never came back from lunch. So, like, I think I told the study hall that I was going to go to the photo lab to develop. I told the study hall teacher, and then so I just went to lunch and I just came home.
Yeah.
And then I basically ditched the rest of lunch, study hall, and early dismissal, and I just stayed home.
So that was your John Hughes movie.
Yeah, that was my John Hughes. Which honestly, I probably came home, made a chicken patty, and probably edited a video or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what I was doing senior year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never played hooky. I never did any,
Yeah, it
any
wasn't-
of that. So in our high school, we had something called Plascos.
Plascos.
So if you were late to class, like
Yeah.
if you showed up after
Yeah.
the bell, you had to go to a hall monitor and get a Plasco. I don't really know why.
What is a
But
Plasco?
it was basically, it would print out a receipt of like how late you were, and you had to go take this receipt. It was like a little like, eek, and it would cut off the receipt, and you would take this Plasco.
Wow.
And it would,
Okay.
they would put in your ID number,
Yeah.
and you could only get 6 Plascos a semester before you got
Oh.
an in-school detention.
Okay. All right.
So you could only be late to class 6
Yeah.
times. This was my senior year.
Yeah.
I was just sitting BSing with one of my teachers who was like, the cool teacher or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've never gotten a Plasco. I've never been late to any class.
Yeah.
And he was like, you could just walk out right now and go get a Plasco from a hall monitor and bring it back. And I was like,
okay.
yeah, you're right. And he was like, go do it. Have that experience. And I was like, okay. So I walked out of history, walked down the
Yeah.
hall, and I'm like, hey, I'm late to history. And the hall monitor goes, okay, don't do it again. And printed out, gave me the Plasco. I came back, handed it to the teacher. He was like, how was that? And I was like, that was interesting. And he was
Yeah.
like, all right,
Yeah.
now you have that, experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Which that was cool because that was like you need to experience good and bad things kind of teaching moment.
I agree. I agree. And
But
yeah. A couple times I was late to school and stuff, and it was a headache, and it was a very different.
I don't know if you remember this. There was one time I drove to school
Okay.
in the truck. We had the 98 Ram, and I
Yeah.
would go out, I would turn it on and warm it up,
Yeah.
but you could take the keys out of the ignition.
Oh yeah.
So I took
they
the
slid
keys
right out.
Well, yeah, they slid right out. So I went back
Yeah.
inside, took the keys with me, put them on the kitchen table, got back in the truck, and drove to school without the
do
keys in the
remember
ignition.
that.
And
I do
parked
remember.
it, turned it off, and went, shit.
Yeah.
I was like-
Yeah.
I was like, so I remember texting you like, hey, can you bring the keys to, I think you left them in the truck or something like that for after school or.
Yeah, I probably did. I mean, no one was going to
But,
take that
yeah,
thing, but
it didn't look like it ran anyway.
no, exactly.
but,
no, it was
yeah.
very easy to do. That's the same truck that I almost ran over myself. I almost ran over my own head with that truck
Yeah.
by accident.
How terrible that would have been.
Oh yeah, because I was running home really quick for something, and it had a very slippery gear shift. You remember?
Yeah, it was
you
a
could
column
just,
shift.
It was a
Yeah.
column shift. You could slip through it really quickly.
Yeah.
I thought I had it in park. I got out of the truck. Well, I thought I had it in park. I opened the door to get out, and I fell because I was in a hurry.
Yeah.
I fell out of the truck. Well, it was in neutral,
Yeah.
and it started to come back, and my head was laying on the ground facing the tire.
Yeah.
It would have run over my head had I not literally rolled out of the way, and then I watched it go across the street, down over the curb,
Yeah.
onto the sidewalk, and it finally landed in the tree.
Luckily, not the house. Because
No.
if the tree wasn't there, you would have driven into the neighbor's house.
It would have been
Yeah.
really. That was a terrible, horrific day for me. I was like, I
Yeah.
can't. Number one, I almost got crushed by my own truck, which was nuts. And then you're right. If the little tree wasn't there,
Yeah.
I would have gone right into the
Yeah.
house. So yeah, it was really pretty awful.
One other thing I just thought of, and we'll get back to Ferris Bueller's
Yeah,
Day Off.
okay, yeah, definitely.
One day you drove me to school,
Yeah.
and full transparency, I failed out of Algebra 2.
Okay. well,
No, you remember this. I was kicked out of Algebra 2 mid-semester because
that's
I was
right. Yeah,
failing
yeah.
out of
Right,
it.
yeah.
And the teacher brought me out into the hallway, and she said, I don't think this class is right for you.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, lady, I agree. I didn't say that. Imagine a 14-year-old going, yeah, lady.
a lady.
But I remember you gave me the worst advice one day.
Oh, okay,
Because
good.
we were in the car,
Yeah.
and I was so upset.
Yeah.
And because I got like a 6% on like a Algebra 2 test.
Okay.
And you told me, you were like, that happened to me once. I got like a 10% on a math test.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like, maybe life isn't so bad. And you're like, yeah, I just misnumbered everything. So every question was off by one question. Because it was like
Did
a
I
fill
say
in.
that?
You told me that you got like a really low percentage on a math test.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's just because you misbubbled everything. And I was like, oh, I am stupid. Because that was just like a clerical
Are you sure that
error.
wasn't Mom?
I'm pretty sure.
Are you
Because it was
sure?
in the
'Cause
G6.
I don't remember. Okay, I
You
don't
took me
remember.
to school in the Pontiac G6.
I don't remember telling you that story,
Oh,
but
all right.
I mean, I'm sure it happened. But I
I just remember I was like, oh, that's
remember
nice. And then you're
having-
like, yeah, no, I just didn't bubble it correctly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so I am just stupid.
I'm I'm a terrible father. I know that.
No. It's just one of those
here
funny.
it is on Father's Day. You had to bring that up.
This is technically Father's Day.
Yeah.
So getting back to the movie.
Yes.
I enjoy this movie. I really like it.
Yeah.
I think it's very whimsical. I think it's very fun. I could see how Ferris Bueller can be seen as like kind of an arrogant prick.
Right.
His family's rich, and like one of the
that is true.
His sister's driving an Audi 5000, a current year.
Wait, no.
I think it's his sister. No, she's driving.
She was driving the Fiero. She had a Fiero, remember?
But still, that's almost a current year Fiero.
Well, that's right. So
was it the parents that drove an Audi 5000?
Yes.
So like they were pretty well off, even though the Audi 5000 was a terrible car. But like,
you saw the dad working in a high rise in Chicago, and the mom worked for Koenig and Stray, which is a real estate company.
And so one of the things is he's like, well, I don't have my own car.
Right.
All right. Because I have a trivia quote in here. The keyboard that he's using is like a almost $2,000 keyboard.
I was going to say
sell
at the
that
time,
and get a car, you
at
idiot.
The time,
in '85, that would have bought you like a pretty nice car.
That was a sampler keyboard.
Yeah,
you're right. It was a very expensive, and having a computer. Computers were very expensive back then.
Yeah,
they really were.
Yeah, he had a computer. Like he had all these and
obviously too, he had a modem because he tapped into the school's. Somehow that happened.
But
anyway,
it's also funny. The show New Girl, which is like basically that was like the new version of Friends for like my era.
Yeah.
The main character Jessica Day, she's a school teacher. And there's a scene where they talk about how she's like, everyone loves Ferris Bueller, but I think he was just kind of a delinquent kid. Like, I sided with the principal the whole time. And it's like a funny joke, whatever. But, like, I can kind of see that. I will say two things. First of all, I love this movie because it's such a screenshot of Chicago and the Chicago suburbs.
It is.
And although I wasn't alive in the 80s, I feel a lot of nostalgia for this movie. There's a lot of infrastructure from this movie that was still around when I was like the schools still looked the exact same.
Yeah.
So like the school that he's going to in the movie, because most of our schools in our area were built in like the 60s or 70s and never updated. They're kind of updated now.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, like we had these like dark walnut walls. Like we had like my elementary school and junior high were like very 60s.
Oh yeah.
Like we had like the hard metal seats. We had the chairs connected to the desk.
Yeah.
Which like I don't think happens like my era they were starting to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like there were a couple where we had like wheelie chairs like in classrooms and we had like, different like setups and stuff like that. It wasn't like the traditional like arm attached to the desk, whatever. But in this movie, like watching this movie really makes me think about like my childhood and like growing up in the Chicago suburbs. Like it feels like my era, even though it was a little bit before my time.
Just let me say I'm sorry.
No. I think that's a great thing. Like it's a very nostalgic movie. The other thing I want to say, I recently heard this theory and I want your thoughts on it.
Okay.
There's a different podcast, I forget the name. All credit.
I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
That this movie's a time loop movie.
A time loop?
Or like a Groundhog Day scenario. So there was a podcast that theorized
I've heard a different theory. Go ahead.
Ferris Bueller is in a Groundhog Day situation, which is why he was able to know that the parade was happening. He was able to make everything fall in place and do so much in one day because he's actually experienced this day 10,000 times. And he's probably at other times, like, no touching the Ferrari, no touching the Ferrari. He knows how to push and prod Cameron into letting him do this and that, and he knew how to do because he gets away with everything. Like
he certainly does.
There's no hitches, and like to get home, like he knows the fences to jump and stuff like that.
Right.
So there was an interesting theory that this is a Groundhog Day situation. And that's why he probably went to school the first couple times, and then he's like, I could just ditch school if I'm going to be stuck in this time loop. And that's why he's like very careless.
Yeah, I mean,
interesting theory.
It is an interesting theory. I have not heard that theory before.
What's the theory that you heard?
I heard a different theory, which also does not make sense. But this different theory is that Ferris Bueller is only exists in the imagination of Cameron, the character Cameron. So in other words, it's kind of like a Fight Club kind of thing where Cameron is not, he doesn't put himself out there, he doesn't take risks and things like that. So he creates this character of a friend
who's like pushing him to
right. So Ferris is this imaginary friend, and he's actually.
But then his imaginary friend has a real girlfriend or imaginary girlfriend.
But the idea was that's actually Cameron's girlfriend, but for some reason he was pushing. That's how he got the girlfriend or whatever. There is a theory, and I have heard it, online and stuff, where they say, "Oh well, Cameron was imagining this because Ferris was his friend who could do anything." And he just kind of made this up, and that was all in Cameron's imagination. So I thought, okay, but you could say, oh well, okay, maybe that's right. But watching the movie again after listening to that theory, I'm like, nah, that doesn't stick with me. You could do, and I think it would be interesting to do a movie like that, where you do a time loop movie of a kid who has this, like, I don't know, you would call it like Best Day Ever or something like that. And it would be kind of like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off meets Groundhog Day.
But like kind of working up to the Best Day Ever?
He would go through it just kind of like, he would have to go through it. And maybe it even starts with parts of the Best Day Ever, and then you go back through, and then suddenly you realize he's going through this again and again and again. And then I don't know, maybe at the end of the movie you find out he's AI or something. I don't know. It's something crazy like that. But
fair enough.
Yeah, but no, it is really something where a lot of people have theorized about this movie. They've theorized about, there's lots of different things about that, because it is such a iconic movie. It's one that all of the actors said that they so much enjoyed doing this movie, and they all talked about how wonderful John Hughes was to work with, and how he was just like, they would all learn their lines and everything. They were all very professional actors, and they would go through and do the lines, and then almost all the time he'd be like, okay, now we're going to improvise one. We're just going to, let's just improvise a couple ones. And the editors loved that because they had tons to work with. And even Matthew Broderick, which, he didn't do anything after this movie. I'm sorry that his whole career failed after this movie. No, Matthew Broderick said this movie was completely made in editing. He said you would not believe how much stuff that we shot and how much craziness was going on. And we'll also, by the way, I'm sure we're going to talk about this too, but there was the guy who plays Cameron, he talks about the Ferrari and about how crappy it was. So we'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about the cars.
Funny enough, he went on to be, which I can't believe we haven't done an episode on, he was in Speed.
He was in Speed?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
He complains a whole bunch in Speed.
That's right.
Yeah. Is this going to take a long time?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I forgot about that. And no, so, I mean, all of the actors, including Ben Stein, Bueller and all that stuff, he even said that, Ben Stein has done a million things. Incredibly brilliant person, known around the world. He's, I think he was a Harvard Law graduate, wrote speeches for Richard Nixon. And he said, of all the things, he's still known for Bueller and all that. And he said he loves it. He said he told his wife that on his gravestone, he wants to have Bueller written on top of there because that's what everyone knows him by. And he said he really, really does enjoy that. Very interesting. They had an entire thing in the DVD extras about Ben Stein, not Ben
That'd be
Stiller.
A weird pivot.
That would be very odd.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yes, it is a movie that lots of people have lots of ideas and stuff about. So, And now I know, again, this was not... I don't know if you want to get into trivia about the cars, because there was... Did you see the K car that Rooney drives around?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That was a wonderful, boxy K car. I love that.
IMDb had very few about the cars.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can run through some of the main cars real quick.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, the star car is the Ferrari 250 GT Spider California. You did not tell me you had that loaded up.
So, for the rest of the entire podcast, we're just going to play this over and over and over again. Anyway, I'm sorry. I thought I would just throw that in there.
Wow, I'm impressed you had that sound effect ready.
Anyway.
You've been waiting for that.
I've been waiting and
Ferrari 250 GT Spider California, 3-liter V12.
Yes.
One recently sold. Numbers matching car.
Oh, really?
Legit car.
Yeah.
What do you think it sold for?
I want to say...
It was a Pebble Beach car.
Okay.
Which that's like, do you know what Pebble Beach is?
I do. Yeah. So I would say that car sold for $70 million.
Oh, no. $8.5 million.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. All right. So I thought it was going to be more than that.
Yeah. But still, I mean, like, just wild thinking of Cameron essentially totaling.
Oh, yeah.
Now $8.5 million Ferrari.
So they talked about that. Can I?
Sure.
I don't know if you got more
with
with that, but in the DVD extras, the guy who plays Cameron, I'm sorry, I can't remember the actor's name, and people are probably shouting at the podcast. But
is it Alan Ruck?
Yes, okay. Alan Ruck, exactly. So what he said was during the filming, that car was worth, at the time, $350,000. But you have to remember, that was what, 1986?
Yeah. That's when it came out, so let's just say 85 that they filmed it.
Okay. So then what he said was, and this was the DVD extra where it was filmed years later, and he said now in nowadays terms, it's over $1 million. Well, now, years later, it's over 7 or 8 million. Because I did see that too, where there was one that sold for like I think 7 or 11 million or so. Anyway, but you're right. That's
Ferraris are very interesting, and I say that because I've now driven 2.
Oh, okay. All right,
since our last podcast, I've actually driven a '94 Testarossa.
Okay, right.
And, well, it's technically a 512 TR, but everyone knows it as the Testarossa.
Sure.
And then a 1986 Ferrari 328 GTS.
That's right. You mentioned that too.
Both lovely cars. Yeah. It's very interesting because they are great to drive. 12-cylinder. The GTS was an 8-cylinder. A lot of it is just the fact that it's a Ferrari.
I think so.
Because looking into this Ferrari 250,
I would guess,
it made 280 horsepower, which at the time was great. Like that was the thing is that like Ferraris were able to perform how no other car was able to perform back in the day.
Okay,
but now 280 horsepower. That's the turbo CX-5 makes 250. You know what I mean? The turbo Mazda CX-5, like the car I drove here to the studio has 471 horsepower.
Well, yeah, but that's a
nice car.
That's
but it's,
a very nice car.
That's double the Ferrari's performance of that air. You know what I mean? And like electric cars, even today, electric cars are way faster than Ferraris. Like like the Tesla Model S Plaid is it'll blow a today modern Ferrari out of the water off the line.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So it's just interesting that but driving them, you do feel incredibly special.
I bet.
It is seeing that yellow prancing horse on the steering wheel is like, whoa. Like it is, you feel like you're a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
But they honestly don't drive that much better than.
Really?
Yeah, and like the 512 Testarossa was like not that well built. Like under the hood, like the carpet was like glued to the metal. Like it was like because the owner himself was showing me. He was like, "Yeah, it's a $300,000 car," and he was like, "Yeah, like the carpet's glued, the plastic's rattly." Like Ferrari didn't have a whole lot of money in the '90s, nor did most automakers. But yeah, so it's just what has been your thoughts on Ferrari? Because you were more of a Lamborghini person, as have I.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, one of the very, very, very first, like, I would call it the supercar thing was the Lamborghini Countach for me. That was the white Lamborghini Countach because it was very much like it was like the space shuttle to me. It was very much like a spaceship.
Sure.
And that was like the supercar to me. That was like the super sport. I fell in love with that car immediately when I saw it. Now, having said that, I have no idea what it's like to drive one. I've heard that there's absolutely no way to see anything outside of that car.
I've
There's,
heard
like, no
driving a
visibility.
Countach is pretty terrible.
I've heard that too. So I'm like, okay, well, but I always wanted to build a kit car, which I don't know. Are we going to get to that?
Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. So I don't want to, because I know you have a lot of information about the car, so I'm not going to talk about that until you
No,
bring it up.
that's pretty much it. We'll run through some other ones.
Okay.
The dad, Cameron's dad, drives a 1978 Alfa Romeo sports sedan.
Oh, nice. Yeah, okay.
Which I always thought was just kind of an interesting touch of like, just kind of giving this like European arrogant dad sort of thing of like, because an Alfa Romeo has always kind of been like, at least to me personally, of the ones that I've driven, the time that I've spent with Alfa Romeos, they're not really the best at anything.
Okay.
But they've always been like, they're the contrarian purchase.
Yeah.
Like the new Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. Great car.
Yeah.
Really great. It's a sedan.
Okay.
It's a performance turbo V6. You know, it's a nice car.
Yeah.
But like BMWs are nicer. Like they're better.
Yeah.
You know, they're more reliable. But you buy an Alfa Romeo because like at the bar, like you want them to be like, I drive a Mercedes, I drive an Alfa Romeo.
Right,
And people
right,
go
right,
like,
right.
Oh, that's interesting. Like people find it interesting. So I thought that was kind of, at least in the modern context, his dad driving an Alfa Romeo sedan. You're like, oh, this guy was like kind of a smug guy of like, I don't drive non-Italian cars.
Well, I drove an Alfa Romeo Spider.
Ooh, okay. I haven't driven an older Spider.
Was an
I've
older,
only driven
it was
a
older.
new one.
This was when I was in mechanic school, and the
wow.
reason why I drove
It
it.
was like what 1904.
Shut up! It's
The Great War was about to start.
ladies and gentlemen, all the ships at sea
Coming across the Atlantic.
No, it was. This was back in 1990, so that was a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go fetch the car and bring it in because we were actually going to work on it in mechanics class. So, and I remember driving in, and the guys are like, "Yeah, that car totally suits you. Yeah, you look good in that car." And I'm like, it was very cool looking.
Yeah,
but
it's
just a
very much like wearing tie dye.
Yeah,
like you want people to be like, "Oh, that's a crazy shirt."
Yeah.
Like you want the chatter.
right. Yeah,
like
exactly,
every Alfa Romeo. Like I had that Tonale.
Yeah.
Back when I was living here.
Yeah.
I had that Alfa Romeo Tonale.
Oh, okay.
And
You're right.
like
Okay.
it's just a Dodge Hornet with a different face on it.
I didn't.
And like everyone was like, "Oh, you have an Alfa Romeo."
Right.
And
For some reason, right, I know. It's just even but go ahead.
The other cars, 1985 Audi 5000. So I believe that was Ferris Bueller's parents' car. Audi
Yeah, could be.
5000,
Could be, yeah.
famously a terrible car.
Was it
Horribly
really?
unreliable, yeah.
Wow. Didn't know that. Okay. Interesting.
The 1985 Plymouth Reliant K. So that's what the principal drove. That was some pretty good car casting.
Yes, and I that had nostalgia for me.
Sure.
Because the K car was something we had one. We had a Dodge Diplomat.
Yeah.
And it was the K car. It was really truly.
I didn't tell you about the K car that I drove 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. Why are you whispering?
Because this was like
a secret. Don't let
one
anyone
of the
know.
best moments of my life, and I realized I haven't seen you guys in like a month.
Oh
so,
no, I know it's been a while. Yeah.
So first of all,
been a
before we
minute.
get to my story, about me,
it's all about me. Yeah.
this was great car casting because like the
Yeah.
K cars were very affordable.
Yep.
They were
Yep.
mass produced, and that was
Yep.
the whole reason for them. They were developed by Lee Iacocca.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
Lee Iacocca?
Oh yeah, yeah. The whole thing. Yeah.
So he developed the K car. It saved Chrysler's butt because they had no money. They were
Right.
able to parts share, and basically it was like they made 10 different cars that were all the same underneath.
Yeah.
Even the minivans were off the K platform.
Oh,
the
okay.
original Dodge Caravan was a K platform
Wow.
car.
Okay.
So it was a way for them to save money. They sold tons of them. Very iconic with the 80s. Like everyone had one.
Very true. Very true.
The Dodge Diplomat was
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
The Dodge
yeah.
Aries.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
so-
Aries. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I've driven an Aries wagon, a 1987 Aries wagon.
Very cool.
So this was like great car casting because like it wasn't like the principal rolling up in a BMW 5 Series or something. It was like he's driving kind of like a basic, like,
exactly.
not dumpy car, but kind of dumpy car.
Right.
Even though it was like new, it was like, it was the driver's ed car, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And in that time period, that would have made perfect sense for him. Nowadays, if you were doing a Ferris Bueller's Day Off nowadays.
Kia Forte.
Probably, yes.
No,
or
like
it might be a nicer car though, because the principals do have a little bit more money now than they used to. But anyway, so go ahead. Yeah,
my K car story.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I was invited up to Detroit by Chrysler. They put me up in a hotel, and they let us drive 10 cars from the history of Chrysler for their 100-year anniversary.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I got to ride in. I didn't get to drive, but I rode in the turbine car, which was very cool.
Really? Very cool.
I rode in a 1934 Chrysler Airflow.
Wow.
I rode in a 1924 Chrysler 6, which was one of 4 prototypes that Walter P. Chrysler himself built.
Wow.
To start, because Chrysler was founded in 1925.
Oh,
so this was like the year before.
Yeah.
Wow. Got to drive a Cordoba.
Cordoba.
So get this.
Yeah, Corinthian leather?
No
Corinthian leather?
So this car had vinyl seats.
Oh. Cordoba.
So that's the thing. So the guy who did the commercials, who was he?
Oh, that was
Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yep.
The car that I drove was his personal car.
Wow.
When he did the commercials, Chrysler gave him a car for 2 years.
Okay.
It's basically like a press car, but he got to keep it, drive it for himself for 2 years. This was his personal car. So I've driven the car that he drove.
Wow.
They did not give him Corinthian leather seats.
Wow.
They gave him vinyl seats.
Wow.
Hilarious.
That is hilarious. No one knows that. That is like... wow.
But my point being, I drove a 1986 Chrysler LeBaron Town and Country convertible.
LeBarons, yes.
Had 2,000 miles on it.
Wow.
It was owned by Lee Iacocca.
Oh my god!
I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. I was goosebumps head to toe while driving it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this is from our heritage collection. Yeah. None of the journalists really cared. Like, they all wanted to either see like the turbine car or like that was it.
Yeah.
So the LeBaron was sitting there, and I'm like, I'd love to drive. I love LeBarons. I love K cars. I love 80s
cool.
cars. So I went up to the Chrysler people, the Chrysler Heritage Collection people were there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like, what can you tell me about this car? And they're like, it has 2,600 miles on it.
Wow.
And it was the company car of Lee Iacocca for several years.
Wow.
He oftentimes would get driven to and from work.
Yeah.
But on the occasional sunny day, he would take this convertible LeBaron to work.
Oh, it was a convertible?
It was a convertible.
Yeah. Wow. Nice.
So it was a town and country, so it had the wood down the side, like the wood style.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're like, yeah, if you want to drive it, you can. So I got to drive around for about 15 minutes in Lee Iacocca's personal K car. Which
that's pretty darn cool.
I made a quick video about it, and I literally, in the video, I'm like, this is like someone offering you to walk a mile in Jesus' sandals.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, as a car enthusiast, like, I was like, this is hallowed ground that I'm in right now, which was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I totally forgot to tell you about that. I drove Lee Iacocca's K car.
That is really wild.
Like the king of K cars.
It is. There's no doubt about it. There
was a Time magazine cover of Lee Iacocca's face cartoonishly drawn onto the front of a K car.
Yeah.
And it was like Detroit's comeback kid was the thing. That K car that was drawn on the cover of Time was his K car.
Wow.
And the one that I drove.
Wow.
It was white with the wood paneling.
Yeah.
Which was super,
really
super cool.
That is very cool.
Anyway, I love the K car casting and just seeing.
I think it was great. I do think the car casting was obviously great with this movie.
The last one I want to talk about briefly, but in the back seat of the checker cab.
Yes.
Tons of checker cabs in this movie. Love that because I think Checker had either just gone out of production or was close to going out of production in 85.
Well, you know I love checker cabs.
They built the same car from like 65 to 85. And they actually they still built they still built parts until like 09
which
in Indiana.
Made a ton of sense because you had a ton of parts. You could they were really tough. You could easily swap out parts. If you were working, in the garage for the taxis, you could easily swap out, and you would know that car inside out, or you could just keep them running.
Very basic car. It had a Chevy inline 6, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I've driven a 76 Checker Marathon.
Okay.
It's technically called a Checker Marathon.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
They had the A12 and the A11. The A11 was like the cab version. The A12 was a person could go to a Checker dealership and buy one.
Wow.
So I actually technically drove a civilian one.
Yeah.
However, since I did that video as a white one, the guy has painted it completely yellow, Checker, taxi guy on the top, like 100% taxi cab now.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I almost bought one.
But yeah, I know. Yeah.
I wish
the Checker
I would have.
cabs are always fun to see.
I wish I would have bought all the cars that I didn't buy.
know.
The ambulance, the Checker cab.
I've always hoped wherever our souls go after death.
Yeah.
I hope that I'm in a giant garage of all the cars I either have owned in the past or like passed up on.
Yeah,
Like
that would be very cool.
Black
that would be cool.
SA RX-7 that we looked at in a barn. It was black with gold wheels.
Literally,
the
in a
dude's
barn.
toenails were gold too. He had a do-rag. He pulled this thing out of this like mothball
Yeah, that was fun.
barn in Indiana.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even run right.
Right.
Couldn't even drive it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I was just wondering what would have happened if I bought that.
Oh yeah, I think about that all the time with all the different cars that I could have bought or passed up on in one way or another. But so.
A little bit of trivia, not a whole lot. There was a lot of trivia for the movie in general, but not a lot of car-based trivia.
Okay.
But brought to you by, but in no way sponsored by IMDb.
Yep.
Cameron's father's Ferrari wasn't a real Ferrari.
Correct.
Because it was too expensive to abuse and wreck an actual Ferrari.
Yep.
3 replicas were made, each replica using an MG chassis and fiberglass body.
Okay.
Which I'm sure couldn't have been cheap to build the replicas.
Yeah.
But cheaper than crashing a real Ferrari.
Yes.
The 1961 Ferrari GT250 was a modified MG sports car. The producers received several angry letters from car enthusiasts who thought the car shown was a real Ferrari that was actually wrecked. So I guess people wrote in and were pissed.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and from what I understand from the DVD extras is that one that went through the window was literally just a rolling chassis.
Gotcha.
So, which made a lot of sense that you would just slap on a fiberglass body and a rolling chassis, throw it through a window, and you're done.
Yeah.
In fact, they even mentioned the fact that when it went down, when it was actually pulled on cables by a tow truck to make it really fly out, they said that Alan Ruck said basically when the car went down, fiberglass snaps, it tears. It doesn't. It's not like a metal. And it's supposed to be a metal car. So they were all concerned because it had started to rip apart. So they put leaves and bushes over parts of it that were ripped up so you didn't see it. He said you'd never know.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Thought that was pretty interesting.
Very, very
and also,
cool.
it is cool with modern stuff. There's a lot of again, at the Chrysler event, they had a Chrysler concept car there.
Oh, okay.
Well, they actually had 60 years worth of concept cars, which was really cool. I got to review a concept car, which was very cool.
That's
It's
very
the 2005 Chrysler Firepower.
Oh, wow.
Which looks like a bigger Crossfire, basically.
Oh, I gotcha.
It's going to be like their V8 powered Crossfire.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which
very interesting.
Car didn't run. Car didn't have an engine. So I'm literally just sitting in the sun, heating, baking in this glass roofed concept car.
Well, that's the thing with the concept cars is that some of them are just literally held together with tape and glue.
But now, because electric motors, they're basically golf carts underneath.
Oh, gotcha.
And they had the Chrysler Halcyon concept car, which is this wacky spaceship looking and they were driving it from a remote control. The guy was just walking next to it. He had a one-handed remote control and it maxed out at 3 miles an hour.
Sure.
But I'm sure for movie stuff, cars that don't need to run, you could just toss a little golf cart engine in it and call it a day.
Especially nowadays,
Most of the license plates are all abbreviations for titles of films by John Hughes.
Oh my gosh.
Katie's VCTN is National Lampoon's National Lampoon's Vacation. Janine's TBC is The Breakfast Club. Tom's MOM is Mr. Mom 1983.
Oh, wow.
Rooney's
Wow.
4FBDO is for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The exception is Cameron's father's Ferrari, seen when Ferris pulls out of the garage, which has the license plate of Nervous.
Oh, okay.
So
all
I thought
right.
that was funny.
Yeah.
The final scene in the garage was shot in early fall, so each of the leaves on all of the trees outside had to be hand-painted green every morning before shooting. In the shot, looking up from the wreck at the three friends, the yellow tree with most of its leaves on the upper the leaves are gone on the upper portion and can be seen reflected in the window.
That's weird.
So, yeah.
Wow.
And then lastly, Ferris laments not having his own car. However, he owns a keyboard sampler. The first reasonably affordable model was the Ensoniq Mirage. Do you remember this?
No, I don't remember, but that
which
makes
was
sense.
released in 1984 and cost $1,695. That would have been a decent price tag for a 10-year-old car in decent condition in 1985.
Yeah. Yeah, and he does mention having a computer, which again would be expensive. The keyboard would have been expensive. A lot of things he had in that room would have been very expensive that he could have traded out or whatever for a car. No, and going back to what we talked about at the very beginning of this too, there is a scene where they had one of the three cars that were kit cars.
Yeah.
For the Ferrari, there's a scene where the car is flying over the camera.
Yes.
And that's where you hear the Star Wars theme.
because they're taking lift off, yeah.
And which I kind of think is obviously like an homage to Star Wars and stuff like that and how spectacular that was. But also, too, did you notice when he was in the Ferris Bueller's doing the parade in downtown Chicago, suddenly people start dancing. And there's a troupe of dancers that do almost verbatim the exact same dance as in the Blues Brothers with Ray Charles and Shake Your Tail Feather. They do almost exactly the same dance, which I have to think because it's Chicago, because it's a parade and dancers break out of nowhere, I think it was a homage to.
I did read one of the
Brothers
trivia
as well.
things of the cops that were dancing and the crew workers.
Yeah.
They weren't extras. They were just people that were dancing to the music that was the production was playing.
That's what I was going to say. Tom Hanks, who has nothing to do with any part of
Actually zero. Although at the end of this, I do have a Tom Hanks thing to share.
Okay.
But
so anyway, Ferris Bueller's character, Matthew Broderick, said that when they were down there, they happened to be it was an upcoming parade. It was like a German parade. And they said, yes, you can film this, and yes, we'll do this. So one day, they told everyone, hey, if you want to be in a movie, come down to see this parade. And he said there was like 10,000 people.
Jeez.
And he said part of that, you're right. Some of the people, like in the scaffolding and stuff like that, they were dancing, but they were just dancing to the music. They were just having fun. They were just extras or whatever. They were just people that happened to be down there. And, of course, obviously it's a great scene where they have all of this stuff. And actually, Matthew Broderick said he was supposed to do a lot more dancing, but he had hurt his leg.
Oh.
So he couldn't do some of the dance moves and stuff. So it wasn't as spectacular of a dance, as it was supposed to be, but obviously still, came out and just being great. So, but what was your other thing that you're going to talk about with Tom Hanks?
I just think the next movie we should talk about should be Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition.
Have you ever seen it?
Never seen it.
Man, we watched it in maybe film class or something.
Okay.
I remember being a pretty decent movie. It takes place in the 1930s. It's like kind of a gangster movie.
Oh, okay.
But also
All right.
so basically to spoil the next one a little bit, Tom Hanks is like a 1930s gangster.
Yeah.
And he goes and kills someone, but his son stows away, and I'm pretty sure it's a Model A.
Oh,
he stows away in the car, and he's like, "Oh, what's Dad doing?" and stuff, and he looks through like a vent and sees him like killing someone.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
It's a very interesting movie, but it's all like Model A's, like it's all 1930s cars in it, which I always love car spotting in a movie like that.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw it at. You ever go to Half Price Books?
I used to, yeah. There used to be one in the Ogden Mall.
Okay.
So yeah, I used to go there.
We go. My girlfriend and I go a lot, and there's always like a discount movie. So they have a couple. It was like $5. I'm waiting until it hits discount for $3.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah, I might pick that one up. That was just my Tom Hanks thing. It's a Tom Hanks movie. I think it's pretty good in Model A's.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I mean, there's a whole. I was just thinking that there's a whole bunch of other movies too that we could definitely do.
Maybe we could get a call in from Paul Shin.
Hey,
that'd be fun.
That would be a lot. That would be fun.
Yeah,
that would be. We could definitely
have we
that
done
up.
Twister?
We've not done Twister.
I would like to do Twister.
Okay, the original one or the.
We could do a double feature.
With the two different Twister movies. Yeah, we could do that.
It's just that Twisters. Came out last summer.
Right.
And that was when I moved into my house, and that was like one of the first things we did was go and see Twisters in the movie theater next to our house.
Cool.
And that was like a very like summer thing.
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
But anyway, we'll pick our next episode at some point later. Would you change the channel if this was on?
I would definitely not change the channel just because there's so many iconic scenes and stuff. And it's just a general... Again, a general feel-good movie where you're right. There's not anything like super awful, terrible that happens, and I don't like. The only thing I don't like is like when Cameron's like kicking the car and stuff, because you can feel like, oh my gosh, his dad is gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Just that whole feeling. But beyond that, it's just a, hey, let's go out and enjoy life, kind of movie. And yeah, you had to put in Rooney, Principal Rooney, because you had to have a bad guy.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I thought about that. What if you didn't have a Principal Rooney? Literally, it would be...
these kids went and had a good day.
Exactly. It would have been like, oh yeah, let's go out and have some fun. Oh,
sometimes I feel like especially with the car I have right now, the LC500 Lexus. Yeah. Like sometimes in the video I feel like that of like, there's no downsides to this car besides the price. Like it's $120,000, but like this car's freaking great in every way. So like sometimes I feel like the video like I need a bad guy moment. Like I need something to like hate to like balance it out. And I'm like, no, this thing's just great.
So yeah, movies are all about conflict. So that's what they tell you as a writer is to say, okay, every scene has to have some sort of conflict where one person's trying to get something and they're being blocked from getting that thing. And so how do they go about it? And I think it's for this movie, there's not a ton of like awful things happening. It's a very positive movie for the most part. It's a very much enjoy life, be grateful for things for the most part. But again, if you didn't have the Principal Rooney, like you said, it'd be like, it would be like, hey, these guys went out and had a nice day. It was okay. It's great. Yeah. So you had to have that tension. You had to have that, he's trying to, and even the actor in the DVD extras, and I really do want people to go out and buy DVDs again. I think it's great. Yeah. But in the DVD extras, the actor who played Principal Rooney seems like a really nice guy, and he's there talking with Matthew Broderick, and they're laughing about it. And he's like, oh, yeah, this Rooney guy was, he was not very powerful, and he was really against, he felt like, and I think part of it was, and they said that Principal Rooney was jealous of Ferris Bueller having all that power and being liked so much in school. But it was fun to see the actors, and they're both laughing about it and having a good time with it. So definitely, that made it so much more fun. But then, again, that day lasted a long time. Yeah. There was so many things that happened in that day that just, and think about it, too. There's a scene where his dad is in the taxi in downtown Chicago. They are also in a taxi right next to him. Do you remember that? And his dad is reading a newspaper article that says save Ferris Bueller. Yeah. So how would that have happened? How would the newspaper...
I forgot about that because there's a BMW dealer on the border of Illinois and Indiana.
Yeah.
And they always do like their billboard used to be like on your wing goose. Whatever.
Okay,
And for a while, when you would drive across the Illinois-Indiana border, it just said "Save Ferris."
Okay.
and I was like, wow, they made that real from the movie,
right?
And then it's like BMW of Cherville or Cherville, which free promo for having cool billboards.
Well, so here's the other thing too. One more thing that I did want to say is, think about the name Ferris Bueller. Okay, so Bueller. Okay, I could see that name. Who names their kid Ferris?
I've never met anyone named Ferris.
I have not either, and it's like, okay, but you don't think about it. You're like, oh yeah, Ferris Bueller. I don't know why it hasn't struck me until now to say, what do you mean Ferris? Who names their kid Ferris? That is not even like okay, there's the Ferris wheel, but that's the last name of that person who invented the Ferris wheel. So how did I don't even know how that came about. I have no clue, but just thought it was interesting. So would you change the channel?
No, I would leave it on. I like the imagery. Like I like seeing 80s Chicago. Yeah. Like again, it feels very home.
Yeah.
I like the overall jolliness of it. I like the car spotting of it. You know, I'm sure like the Internet Movie Car Database was like pulling up like all of like the background cars.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, like Chrysler Conquest and like all the like these like crazy cool old cars.
Yeah.
Like I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a decently happy-go-lucky, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't change it. I don't know if I'd sit down and watch it again immediately, but
I probably wouldn't. But
I do enjoy it enough.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. So
thank you guys so much for listening. You got a really clean sample of it.
Thanks. I thought it would be a lot of fun, and I did want to kid you that we'd play it throughout the entire thing because that was so iconic with this movie.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but thank you guys so much for listening.
Yep.
I'm trying to get our Spotify back up and running. I don't know.
Oh, good.
How
I don't know.
To make that work. We used to use Anchor FM, and then I think got purchased by Spotify. But check us out wherever you can check us out, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Sounds good. Bye-bye.